Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to carve out those brows. Now this is something you probably heard on socials quite a bit, the term carving out. Literally all that means is we're going to go around the edges of the eyebrow, just sorting out the shape and cleaning that up a little bit with a concealer. So all I'm going to do is, this is a NARS creamy concealer, and I've got a MAC flat brush. And I'm just going to load that up just slightly, just on the tips. The only place that's got any product on that brush is the very, very tip. And that's exactly what you want. Again, throughout this tutorial, you want to keep the product to the tip. Once you've got that loaded up, we are just going to follow, starting from the front, just that line that we carved out earlier. Or if you didn't need to carve yours out and you are very lucky to have perfect eyebrows, just follow the natural shape of your brow. And as you can see then, I did my best to go in tiny little strokes, hardly taking my brush off my skin. And yes, that is going to take a tiny bit of practice. But it just makes for a much smoother line. And all we're doing here is creating that barrier between the brow that we don't want to touch with product and the base of the eye makeup that we are about to lay down. So that was the NARS Soft Matte Concealer, and I used the shade Custard. Next, I'm going to take the Wet n Wild Photo Focus Concealer. So this is nice and thin. So I'm just going to take a tiny bit of that and pop that on the back of my hand. And what this is for is that next step. So we're just, because it's nice and light, I don't like anything too heavy on my lids, because I feel like I'm at an age now where that can cause creasing, and I don't really want that. So I use this concealer because it's so light, but it has really good coverage as well. So all we're going to do is that same motion, but we're going to start where the other concealer left off, and we're just going to pull down, just like that. And just do it in tiny little stages. And you want to bring it out just slightly, so it's everywhere that we are going to be putting any sort of eyeshadow on. We want this base. And the reason we do this is because your eyelid, if you're anything like me, is full of pigment, and it won't be the same colour as, say, your nose or your forehead. It's generally highly pigmented. So what we're trying to do here is just even out that tone. So when we apply this eyeshadow over the top, it's got a nice even base. And when you've done that first eye, you just want to take it over to the second eye. And don't worry about being too neat with this. Yes, we want it to be even, but we are going to buff this out in just a second. And then I'm going to take a Peaches and Cream PC23 brush. This is a small domed fluffy brush. Now I'm just going to bounce that over the top of all the work that we've just done. And the reason we're bouncing is because we don't want to swipe, we don't want to move any of the product around. We just want to make sure it's nice and even and there's no lines or anything like that. So it's just a really nice light bounce. And there you go.